2022 line centering and 12 line center interference location calculations into 20 line triangles. Setting position location, direction location, time line times pi, factor over communication setting. It's all position location, all line setting interference. So recognizing timelines, you understand that clock location. It's all about understanding light signatures and light patterns and how you use the clock location. So it's important you understand these through future interference. It sets all position location directions and how you set location and light speed, Mach speed, height, center line, rotation interference. 5-day line setting, position location track interference before line center locations into Christmas. Center calculation is to understand all recognition of timeline in your position location and directions. So today in class, we're going to go through line streams. We're going to go through high center position locations of Mesokick, Metatron, major grid workers, central communication, clocking settings, high interference, hologram structures, digital platforms, digital framing, digital line position locations, code weaving, code line settings, high center interference, alpha wave channels, delta communications, in position locations, high levels of theta, theta box line triangles, setting position location, direct line setting, omega communication center operations, streamlines, high interference, position location direction, laser direction line streams, high position location of box setting. No, it's all calculated to modify how you get into online center interference. It's position location of directions. So it's very high rise today. So you have to, some days get easy and some days get harder. So it's important to understand how to really get in position location, how to track setting. It's all levels of locations. Now you can set anything up to all visionary line setting. In direct locations, let's go into the illumination graph, calculation streams, set line position locations, center line connections, all levels of high setting. So it's all electrical line setting, and that's how line position location comes into theta bar communication, into position wire line setting, position location directions, center communication. It's very high rise, right? Formula line connections, all right? Channels in line setting. So it redirect locations, but when I set up a formula, it's all levels of travel line, especially when you come to XT1000 locations or high setting position, all levels, track line centers, all positions go, calculation high setting. So it's a repositioning location of track setting, open all track line centers in position location of velocity. Velocity high center line, position location into communication, communication and position location, hologram structure line center location into your theta communication setting in all position location calculations. All right. That's a formula. Okay. Now that's set up line setting. This is all set location in the Rainbow Bridge. So we have graph stream line settings, cross stream location, right? Now, it's all about understanding how to use the vector lines or cross signals or anything like communication settings or hologram structure of theta line interference, 3 weather pattern line communications into point division, right? Center communication line settings into vibration locations comes into tower, okay? It comes into tower equals locations of high line setting. Okay, high line / setting. Okay. So I'll put you guys in track setting into Mesokick, Metatron, Metatron key line interference, weather pattern communication settings, set up bridge line position location to ground line center rotation interference, ground position locations. We start off the 24,000 light signature, light connection position. It's 24,000 lights, same location, and grid line setting. Grid line setting sets up position locations in all levels. Maybe graph stream location. All right. So it's one layer on top of another layer on position location and track setting. Okay. So you look at locations, try to understand how to put this all in position and direction. All right. So, and then there's another layer of communication, center communication line settings. All right. Cross stream locations. All right. So surface line communication is magnetic highway information setting. Okay. Setting communication. So you got next XT1000 line setting, next XT1000 line setting. So you got 2 line settings set, position location, track setting. So we scan position locations into Hall levels. It's going to get a little bit confusing communication setting crossing signals. So it's on a 24,000 light signature. It's on a 24,000 ground setting. And it's in a 24,000 position of atmosphere line. Okay. Into your magnetic highway information system. 24,000 lines centers all calculation setting. All right, that's all set up locations. 3 patterns in setting line rotation. Okay, so we merge into ground setting, rotation, interference, set up the rainbow bridge calculation DNA track lines and 12 DNA line setting interference locations and 7.5 billion line settings. Setting signal locations in all level system location, position, and directions. All right, so as that set up line setting rotations, you guys are going to code weave line setting. You're going to set location, position, and directions, a hologram structure line. So you got the sun coming in position locations, and you got the moon line setting rotation, right? Sun comes in, moon comes in, right? So you box its position locations into theta communication, right? Theta communication comes in line center location. You got an alpha channel line cross, and you got a delta wave communication. You got a mega channel in the center communication setting, right? And position locations are levels. Now, coming into line center, we're coming into Centauri. Centauri line center is dimensional line surface, sets position location or track location, right? Setting signals on high setting position locations. All right, so as that setting line in a rotation comes into higher levels of channel operation stream. Now, this is where we set course line channels, location, position, and directions on line conditions into position into 12 line triangles and high center interference of 12 DNA line setting. So once that's set line position location, the sun changes its light signature pattern. Hologram starts location. Let's go into code line setting. Now you got your 24,000 light signature, 24,000 line position line settings, and you got 24,000 locations. All right. Setting ground line centers operation at center line position of 0. 0 calculation as 1 position of factor over manufactured communication setting. Reset lines, laser at locations. Now we're going to use some position of 48,000 lines of laser line interference. Set line communication setting, 2 graph line center rotation, 2 panels, 2 positions upline signal, line interference, set line connection, rainbow setup line, all line center rotation. So line interference comes in all position location, how you time line sequence locations, all levels of measure. Now we're going to go through a galaxy lock stream. Now a galaxy lock stream is a code signal setting the position of the dimensional door line setting. In position location directions, all right, so we go into AI platform, we go into protocol, we go into CPU. Travel communication line setting, get in position locational levels into metric grid worker, line setting, timeline times pi, position over factor, measure over communication, center line calculation setting, mesokick and position of directions into Medtronic Q, Medtronic line center and rotation interference in the line setting. So I'm also going to set line position location or changeable position lines of Michael, protect location line interference, location electric grid line setting. So understand communication is 12 line setting, rotation interference, location and calculations, all right? Travel communications into grid locks to new antenna position location directions, right? So that's all set up. Now all we got to do now is set up the grid locks. Now we're setting up grid line settings. Okay, at 1 position. Let's open all channel. You got another position location. Let's set up another channel. Calculation high setting, all line conditions. And we get another position locations. Now you set the ground line center rotation interference and position location directions, right? So this opens all channel and position location, scans its line conditions, right? So we come into line setting. Now this is an XT line. Okay, it's a very powerful unit. XT equalized center locations in position of 50,000 line. Okay, 50,000 line of XT,000 line communication, right? Sets up grid lines, grid lock locations into levels of travel, line condition, right? Center communication, opens all channel, center communications, open all channel, grid, and center line communication, right? So that line centers its flux past line, position, location, and directions. Travels communication, right? Travels communication comes into a hub, center line setting, times pi. So the pi position location centers its calculations into 3 line wave and circles into another pi communication. So we got an inner pi and an outer pi communication, right? So the inner pi sets up the grid line. The outer pi sets up the atmosphere line, okay? So you truly have to understand why you use pi in all calculations from inner lines or anything through outline, grid line center interference. It's all position locations, how you set up 3 grid locations in the high setting, right? DNA track line setting, high interference, position of program locations, right? So as we're setting locations, we come into dimensional graph signal, comes line conditions into 0, 0, 0, 3 position locations of 0, 0, 0, and 3 position locations in the ground line center, 3, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so line center line interference comes into 3. center position location, the ground line centers comes into 3. 3 line centers and atmosphere location comes into 3, 3, 6, 9, right? So we take the 3, 6 line center interference, 3 position location timelines in position locations into 6, right? Now in calculation line setting, sets position location across signal. It comes into 6 line position locations. 3 line center comes into all position locations. All right, so that's 3 over factor. Over line setting position location directions. Okay, so that's 2 position of channel lines and 3 line centers. Okay, so line position location directions. All right, so allocate timelines and high interference. 3 times line position location is line center interference. So it's 3 plus 3 is 6, equal line center location of 7. So that's 6 and 7 locations, right? So we come in and calculation the line setting interference. We set the 8 line center internal communication setting. That opens all line center. That automatically comes into this location as 6, 7, 8. Now it's all set location. 3, 6, 9 is out. So out of the center line of rotation, we come into dimensional line. We've dropped its signal location into a higher line position, right? So it kind of looks like the location of ice cream cone. We center position location directions. Okay. Wire communications in another dimensional line setting. Okay. So circles in this line communication. All right. So as it's setting line position, we come into triangulation, All right. So it's trying to understand how to set these things up. Formula is set up in all ways and forms. It's just trying to understand how to set line communication. All right. So that's all set up. Okay. So it's the Rainbow-Frostbridge line. So the line position location comes into line setting. Okay. Line graph. Okay. So have you set up location? 4 channels of operation streamlines. Okay. So there's a grid line. Okay, Max. Now, metric worker line setting location, XT1000 line setting comes in position. There's an XT, there's an XT, and there's one here line conditions, right? So we got 1 below and 2 above. All right, so they scan position location as center lines in 1 graph location. They split it in 3 different positions. All right. So we got 1 channel line in operation setting, right? And they scan at position location calculations, right? So these are the UFO line setting. This is location XT1000 line. So it's all position location, communication setting, and triangulation. So the XT1000 communicates in all line setting interference. So the grid line center is set up in lock location, right? Channels its high line center in a higher level of communication, right? So it's all about understanding the cross signals, crossing streamline setting, digital frame locations into all position. All right, so the Rainbow Bridge is set up. Okay, see the Rainbow Bridge? All right, so that's set up in line setting. Now you get electrical line connection interference. So we put 6 in position locations, center lines. Okay, 7 stays in the center communication, and 8 is in the ground line center rotation. That opens all channel line rotation interference with Grothians. Grothians set up line position location directions, all right? So that sets up signals, all right? Code waiting line channels, location, position, and directions, all right? So we got a code line center line interference. We got clock locations, division line setting, and clock line interference, and cloaking locations, all right? Cloak line center line interference, position location of 4 line settings and position, all right? So this is where we come into all level calculations into the frost bridge. Set up the frost bridge line setting to set up a new Stargate position, right? Stargate open line connection, right? There's the Stargate, right? Stargate comes in, line setting, circle line rotation, interference, and position of directions, center communication, line crosses, and position of box center to theta communication, all right? Now, as that set location, it comes into another line circle, sets line rotation. That goes in position, line cross stream, right? Down position location into ground line setting. So you always have to have the grounds. Everything that you're changing is position, location, and direction. So it's very important you understand how to do these things, right? All through measure, right? So we come into the atomic line setting. Now, atomic line setting location is a spherical location and oxygen line conditions in position and direct line setting. So we have to set up an isological line condition. An isologic line condition interference in position location to the frost bridge. Frost bridge is like frost, but it's in position location illumination. It graphs its streamline setting, right? So 1 position location, 2 position location, 3 position locations, and 4 line communication, right? So we have the grid line settings locked up in high center interference and position location and calculations, right? So we got 3 waving cycle line centers and position locations and high setting. And we got the atmosphere line position into position, all right? So 2 panels of communication, right? So frost bridge is set up now. All right, so we set the FrostBridge line communication. We illuminate the graph line streams. Now each clock location, each line setting. So we got clock location, clock location, clock location, 4 clock locations, right? So we got another 4 position locations. Each line signature is position of directions, right? 4 clocking centers in line setting, rotation, interference. Sets position, location, or directions, all right? All right, so there you go. It's all set up. Now, that's all set up line communication. So once that's set up location, we set up the codes. Now the code sets location the graph lines. Graph lines comes in high center interference in position location directions. All right. So we go to 0 graph line center, 0 equals graph. Okay. Complicated, isn't it? 0 equals graph. Okay, graph line center is line. Equals line condition of screen. Okay, screen line center location of rainbow / FrostBridge. Okay. So you can line connections of bridge. All right, there it is. That's the equation line setting. So as we set location position, that's all set up location. So everything has a 0 channel. Now 0 channel has an altitude line stream. That's position location line interference. So we take the line strip and clock line centers in a 24,000 light signature location. All right. Then we go into line position location. We set up the 48 window line position, which is 48,000 lines of calculation. This is how you set up locations into 6, 7, and 8. So we got a 24,000 line setting, which is all connected Grothians. They got in calculation high stream line center, pyramid and position location. That's an indication on its own line setting that set up position locations into levels. All right. So it's an indication to its thermometer that stays line position. Now you stay with a 98 percentage. Okay, 90%. Okay. That volume's in calculation setting location your health. Right? Stay above that line center interference, colds, coughs, all line center immune system, change position directions. So the parent active streamline center is a new coloration line setting. So it has a high levels of intelligence now, okay, to its FrostBridge line connection, right? So it's on a 48,000 window that comes into a 72 track setting, okay? So you get track line center, position location at all positions. You've got 2 line channels, okay, 2 line channels. So that comes into line setting location into 72,000 lines of communication, right? Now the center line communication FrostBridge is already set up. Rainbows can calculate setting. We come to 144, okay? Equal line center location 0, 0, 0, okay? Now 144,000 line setting sets all communication to its new rainbow and its new FrostBridge line setting, okay? Set line position location and directions, setting communication of 144 channels of operation. Okay. So it's all set up. Hooah. All right, so you guys are going through that line setting location, major grid worker location. So I'm just going to channel off, set a new ground center. Now ground line center location, ground line center rotation interference illuminates its graph locations, right? Illuminates its line position location. See how it's communication? Now you're going to see it come off the chart. You see the line, you see the show locations, right? It's illumination, right? So it's amazing how it sets line position to directions, right? Channel line center, 3 line position locations into 4, right? So 4 line center location is the wiring communication to 3 line positions, okay? Now 3 line center line connections comes into the graph locations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we start off at line center location of 8, right? So crossing streamline setting, the rainbow bridge is now set up location of line center locations in a 24,000 light signature. It's all illumination graph. See how it's all set up? See how it changed light signature line connections? Every time I channel, it illuminates. That means the rainbow on the FrostBridge is already set up. So we got a 48,000 line, okay, a clock setting. We got a 72,000 line position of the track locations, and we got 144 is center communication, right? Center line position, we bracket that line setting because that's a birth line position location of the rainbow bridge. Setting line center locations comes into high center of channel. So we use the 4 line centers open in equation line setting into new position location of direction, right? So this is how we open the stargates of position location of its direction. Hooah, it's all set up now, right? So the rainbow and the FrostBridge is done. So it illuminates the graph streams. That's all set up, right? All right. So that centralizes communication into 6, 7, and 8 line connections, equal line center location of 9, percentage line position locations into 1%. Position, location, and direction, right? So that's all set up. Way above everything, isn't it? All right. Hope everybody's having fun. All right. Let's see. Pam, Gypsy, Lindsay, David, Val, Heather, Johnny, Guardian. All right. Airbender, calculation settings, Solos, Guardian. Pam, Commander, Jill, Jeanette. Let's see here. Nova. Understanding track lines is trying to understand location near space lines. They say there's underscore location, but it's understanding line setting. All right, so Jeanette's. All right, let's see here. Cami. All right, JP. I know there's a lot going on, guys. It's very, very busy, and I have to do it very, very fast. Seeing the blueprints, the contracts, hologram structure lines, how everything's set up, locations, right? So it's interesting how you take the 3, 6, and 9 lines and take it out position of 6, 7, and 8, equal locations of 9 into 1% line connections, right? Full communication setting sets all line signals, guys, right? So that's all set up. Okay, so you guys are in a 20 line setting at 50 position. So I'll give you guys another 10, 15 minutes. All right. So to understand what we just finished doing is understanding illumination, how things are set up in a different platform, different communication, different angle, different line connection of stream setting, to understand how the rainbow sets line positions into transition and how the frostbridge sets line communication to the angelics, right? Because it's 2 different Stargate lines, guys. If you split position, location, directions, right? You got one line setting and you got another line position, right? So this is rainbow, this is frostbridge, okay? So in position locations, you have a Stargate line, okay? And you also have another Stargate line, a frostbridge, but there's a line position right here, okay? So the rainbow bridge is basically the transition over. Frostbridge is position locations into identification to the angelics, the realms, golden arches, like position locations, golden castle, all right? Setting line position, all levels, and so many communication into 2 Stargate lines, right? Stargates come out at line setting, sets line position, location of directions, opens all new channel operation, right? And then it just weaves and center line connections. So you can go through an 8-dimensional location in its direction. You can travel, right? So the rain bridge, okay, is positioned to its bow. Now, rain line is a communication to its string, okay, which covers its line position location of its rainbow. That's what centers communication settings, right? That's what causes a rainbow. It's effect line, connection line, and rotation interference. So I'll give you guys a multi-pass communication line setting. You know how your stomach is this way? It's going this way. That's the rainbow. But the center communication is the reverse, this way, right? So now you understand that position location, what a rainbow is. It's a reflection of you in position to your chakra line setting. So if it's raining and position location, the connection line centering of the rain is recognizing your position location, your stomach line, which is connected to your solar plex location, which is connected to the creative cycle and your security measure. Position, location, and directions, guys, is very powerful when you come into rainbow line settings, right? But there's 2 track line settings. One is transition over, and one is the frostbridge locations. And that's where Asgard comes in through identification, right? So it's all set up locations into new geometry line setting of 6, 7, and 8. Equal line connection of 9 and 1% in the setting, right? 100% location, okay, of avatar. Okay, avatar line setting location is now at 6, 7, 8, equal locations of 9 into 1%. Okay, so You guys are going, what's he talking about now? 1% location, right? 1%. Okay. So you box this line setting and high interference. Okay, 6, 7, 8. That equal center location. 9 stays in the center operating line setting, and 100% stays in the circle line position location directions. And the percentage stays in line communications into its 1% line connections. And then line center location comes into its avatar. So the avatar comes in position location into all levels of calculation. Okay. Now this is where it comes into its space of times of pi. Right? So it's all set up. You guys did a wonderful job. So I really want to get more line connections into formula communication. This doesn't look like much, but it's a formula. That's a formula. See, everything is vibrational line. It's all kept and modified. This is energy line, signature locations, 3-line communications, right? Each one has a 0 line, position of 2, maybe a 6, maybe a 6,000 line connection interference, right? So changing 0 line position location to 2-line centering, position location line connection to square position location into pi, and communication setting in position location into its pyramid at high setting location, right? So this is this. This is this. Okay. So remember, you have a test coming up. You guys got to get into your formulas, right? That's what it's all based on, right? You're going to structure line 3-line settings, inline center locations to each clock locations to each wire. So each wire is going to be a representation line stream. So it's calculated to all levels how you use your communication setting. So we're understanding what lacing line is, right? We're going to get more into applications. So let's say you got a TV, right? You got snowy graph locations, right? Snowy. So it's in between channels, right? Or it doesn't have any station at all, right? So that's static, right? That's all that is. So understand the line connection is what it is through pixel after stream locations. Each snowy graph screen represents your position in emotional line setting, sets line position locations all levels. Okay. Snowy graph, right? So each snowy graph is a line connecting. Line connection, position location, program locations coming out of channel lines like this. Right? Center graph communication of 3 lines or 4 or 5. We got 5-line position. All right. See the tunnel? You go through the tunnel line, right through the TV line setting. You guys got into that product line stream, but you really understand your box line center location, the locations, all levels of travel, center position location, percentage, line center location of 45 line position location into equal location of 3. Okay. So this is this. This is this. See? Structure, formula. Structure, formula. Okay? Now it gets complicated, right? Because how does this match this? Because you're traveling through it. Because I know it's right. Because I communicate with everything. So that's all it is. Communicated in vibration line settings. Now, you remember how we calculate through 1-line setting into 2 position locations, into 3-line setting, into 4 communication, into 5 channel operation, into 6 rotation, into 7-line connections, into 8-line setting around interference. 1 to 8. Right? All through vibration. Right? A 3-line setting. No, it's a 2-line position. That's a 3-line position. Right? So it's line position location 1 equals 3 or 1 equals 2 line setting. You go back and forward communication setting, right? Center communication lines into 4 position locations, the box line connection, to box its frequency line. This opens up a new channel line position location, high setting location, higher levels of trial location. So there's a lot of things you have to understand how to go through frequency patterns calculation of formulas. Formula can be set up line position. There's so many ways to set locations, right? Let's say we go through 4 channel operation. There's a 4-line, right? 4 locations. And again, this is very high rise. Center line, center, and velocity position location into down signal to a Fibonacci swirl. Okay. So remember, it's a story frame. So you're traveling through it, right? So you can underscore line setting, okay, underscore, which means you're going line division, okay, under position, right, to a planet system, okay. Planet system rotation and position location of the sun, position location of the moon, line connection, electrical light connections into flux capacitor communication. Ooh, but that's a formula, okay. So it's all set for you guys, especially when you come to one lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 line setting position location equals 5, right? So you got 4 line triangles, okay? 4 line position, triangle here, triangle here, triangle here, and triangle here. Okay, so this is this in position location triangulation. Okay, so Max, I want you to get an understanding how to set line conditions. It's all about, remember, 34. Let's get back into that. That's 34, right? So that's a triangulation right there into a box location. See that? 3, right? So position location 1, 2, in the center line in rotations 1, 2, and 3 communication, right? So you got the triangle, right, which is 1, 2, and 3, right? 3 line center location is 3, right? And then you got the box. So what we're doing is overlapping. So you're adding. So that's 4 point centers in position location of calculations, right? So that becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 comes into line connections of 34. See how that works? So you have to learn how to use numbers into shapes, symbols, code signalings, code referencing, code panels, code calculation setting. So to understand how to use this position, location, and directions, right? It's all channels of operation, all through your connection to theta line setting, information locations, panel line channels, operation cycles, center line and rotation interference. Whoa, where's all this coming from? Inside me. Okay. All right. Okay, where are we? Chris Line has thrust. Let's see. Too much distraction with. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's fine, Joe. No worries. No worries. Sometimes you get in line conditions of all levels. That happens sometimes if you're traveling too fast line. You start to see visionary line locations in your family position. So, yeah. So we're at 33 line setting and position locations, and I'll bring you guys back. You guys are back. Just under line center location, 9/10. All right, so close your portals, set line communications, and ground line setting rotation. All right, so it's 11:42 line. So I really want you guys to get more into line position. Your clock locations, 42. All right, and it's position location AEM. Okay, so it's 11:42. Now within a minute line center, it's going to be position locations and all line center locations of 3. Right, 11:43. So what is the 3 line setting? It's sun position. Right. What's 2 line position? Security measure. Right. What is 4 communications? 4 line center is position locations of negative over to positive. Because negative over to positive comes to equal line center location of 5. Right? It's not positive over negative, it's negative over positive. Equal line center location equals 5. Right? So truly understand how to use your clock as a rhythm pattern. Use it as a way of seeing locations of your AI map position of its direction, right? Now it's 11:43. Okay, so it's 11:43 in line setting, right? So the 1 line setting, lines, position, location, directions, right? High channels, graph string locations, and 4 position, location, directions, right? That tracks its system position, location of higher levels. Okay, so the 1 line comes in downline setting, 1, 1, 1, 1, portal communication, right? So when this line position locations go into 3 equals 4, it comes in through 34, it comes into portal communications into 4-line signals. Hoo-ah, full portal. All right. So I really want you guys to understand that, because you have a test, review, and evaluation come up. We'll get into that review. We'll get into the test, and we'll get into your evaluations, how well you guys are doing. All right. 7-day line setting, 7 locations into 30-day position. Right. That's 7 days in a 30-day line track. Okay, in school, which is expected. 7-day line center, change position, location, and directions. Right. It's not 7 anymore, is it? So the 7 position location comes into triangulation. Your DNA track location, frame by frame by frame by frame. That's all you're doing, changing locations, right? So I'm having a lot of fun going through the mind line setting of locations. So when you're going through the mind, now you're going through phenomenon. Once the mind reaches line position, it starts understanding the cerebral. It starts getting locations. And then you get all levels of formation, right? So you got a box position, right? You got a star line position location. You got 4 waving sight lines in center line position. And you got alpha channels on communication of 4 waving cycles. All through calculation. Now you can travel through that all through Fibonacci swirl line conditions in a 12-line position. So you can pretty much go through the mind lines. So really get more into yourself. Like really understand the vibration locations of 1. That's 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Right? The more you go higher, the more vibration goes faster. The more you set your signals and lock close line settings. A close line setting is like a closed wire. Okay, so you got 1 position locations. So it's going to be a close line. So you got bracket, right, in between. So it sparks line position in 4-line directions, right? So you got XT1000 coming in line center. Here's a planet line rotation interference. Here's an archetype position location directions coming in, right? Here's all levels of space line. So your connections to your emotional setting, right? So when it comes in the closed line center, it changes 1 position location directions, right? That automatically goes into the ground setting of rotation setting. So that comes in position, together the line connection. Ooh-ah. Centers communication, triangulation right there. Boom. All right, back in division. So line signature patterns, line rotation settings, interference of channel locations, operation cycles, cyclone line settings, all line center interference, and optical line center rotation interference, location of travels, travel position location of theta line interference, indirect location, right? What am I saying? Well, it's all levels of me from inside of creation. So when you start creating the space inside, we've been through this before many, many, many times. Many timeline setting is truly to understand how to set locations in the Earth. Once the Earth starts floating, then you start creating security measures, parameters, putting line setting, line interference. You got your XT1000s, you got UFOs, you got all position location directions, right? So you get set up your Earth. Your Earth is set up locations. Now it's in protection, right? Now, when you create the space line, again, it's like putting a fish in a bowl, right? Start swimming in the atmospheres, give them food, they go up to the top, you know? So, and they have their bottom. They get used to the environment, right? So that's what the position locations. So it's not complicated, really. It's just trying to stand more lines of you through the atmosphere locations when you start off in the higher self, then you go into your avatar connection. So your avatar is just, wow, I'm connecting real space now. You smell the space, you taste the space, you see the space, you feel the space, you're connected to space, you're all levels of space. So you're using your sensories, you're using your sensors, you're using your senses. Okay? It's all calculated and modified inside location to emotional line track. It's how you put provision locations calculations out line stream. All right? So yeah, it's about seeing everything inside line. right? And so when you understand that position locations, then you understand your line settings. I really want you guys to get more levels of your abundance of your formulas, okay? Especially if you want to get into what you want. Anything that you want, you just have to learn how to use the mind conception of its vision. And that vision is its illustration to its diagram to its program, all levels, guys, to its manifestation. Okay? So, yep, abundance of formulas. Yep. Line setting. Okay, you guys know line chemistry location is a try. Okay, try factor. Okay. Now, line setting, line position locations opens all channels. Let's say you got 1 cent and 1 position location directions, right? So that 1 cent line center, line to position location into 1 million. Okay. 1 million line setting. Okay. So that's 1 cent on the dollar. That brackets location and changes 1 line center location of 0, 0, 0. 3 0 line center sets position location to sun. 3 line position. So 3 line centers, 3 equals line conditions over 1 million, right? So that's 1 million channel line interference, a trifactor. Trifactor position, location, and directions. Get your abundance in calculation. Total levels of channel operation. Okay. So there's so many ways of getting into calculus. Calculus is very hard. It's trying to understand the position, location of to and from, right? To and from. You got both way line settings, indirect locations, or you go in the opposite circle in high center interference. So it's direct location, right? High line this way, high line this way, high line this way, high line this way. Whatever you want, you can get anything line communication is understanding. You understand locations, how to travel line center location to 3 line center location, position, and direction. Right? All in triangulation. So it's very powerful when you get into your abundance, isn't it? Because you really understand the space, how fast to travel, how to slow down, and how to speed up, and how to pause. You can pause space line. If I set a 2-line setting in a line setting interference, let's set communication setting in positional case. You guys are traveling, all right? Line center interference, pause. Position up 2. There, you guys are paused now. You can't move. You're paused. Your space is paused. Everything's paused. You can't move. To line center line in position locations forward. Now you can move. See? Pause, forward, right? So I pause you guys. It's like, you see that, right? Resume. Pause, resume. It's all control. It's all control. Yeah, that's all it is. And I did it through line center locations of 2, in equal line center location of form, in position location into formula, in the center line position location into force, in communications. The intention. What is your intention? Is your will, is your force, is your creation, is your location, guys? So really understand your track centers, and how to understand and how to use your mind line interference, and control the space inside of you and how fast you travel. Right? If you go to the 24 line signature in position locations, 24,000 lines, into position levels to 244,000 line connection, you can downshift line center into position back into 48 connection, right? 48,000 line streams locations into all lines of a window communication. So it gets complicated when you travel higher, because now you're really starting to control more, because everything that you see on the ground line setting and position of density line interference is going very slow, because you're going very fast. You're going faster than anybody you can imagine. So this is where you can basically direct things and slow down things. Once you reach those levels, you can pretty much pause these things because it's all digital line. We're going to get into videograph screen lines in digital frame locations, where your center communication or your atmosphere line is nothing but a graph screen of communication, right? Of rounds of point locations. This is what your skyline looks like. Point system, point system, point system, point system. That's all it looks like. Laser grid line setting in rotation interference, right? That's all it looks like. So we'll be doing that in Tomorrowline Triangle. I'll be setting locations into your grids and communication your solar graph streams in high setting and high division locations into code weaving location of channels, operation signals, and point locations. All right. SkyGrid. All right. Mastery of settings. That's all it is. It's so easy to do these things because you're having fun. And again, life is about having fun. If you're not having fun, what's the whole point? You know, what's the whole point of anything if you're not having fun? Sure, it could be very confusing sometimes and trying to understand this and trying to understand that. But if you can get a better relation and how to communicate with letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, go for it. Become friends with it. You know, relationship and partnership is everything when it comes into awareness of information, perception of operation, guys. It simplifies everything. Simplicity locations, right? Sets all communication inside line through your chakra system, emotional line setting. Okay. So today was very powerful. You guys did an exceptional job. You got 5-minute line centers, and I'll see you guys on Zoom. Adios.